Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Monday Night Raw review. Monday Night Raw tonight was from the París La Défense Arena in Paris, France. This is the last night that WWE was in Paris because they were there for SmackDown. They were in France for SmackDown, and of course, Clash in Paris was last night, which I didn't get to see Clash in Paris, but from the results, it looked like a very predictable show. It felt like a house show just by reading the results. And Monday Night Raw, this took place today, of course. And Raw was on at 2 p.m. Here on the East Coast on Netflix, which I did watch. And the show, I thought it was a good show tonight, in my opinion. The crowd there in Paris was absolutely great. And just by the crowd reactions throughout the night here, and I heard at Clash in Paris, the crowd was phenomenal as well for that show. I think that WWE should bring maybe a WrestleMania in the future to Paris, France. Because you get the crowd reaction that you saw last night and on Monday Night Raw tonight. You know, imagine that crowd for a WrestleMania in the near future, which I hope WWE does that. But what a crowd it was for this Monday Night Raw. But we had the Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi Sane. They have taken on Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez. Finn Balor was in action, and he had taken on Dragon Lee. Penta and the War Raiders, Eric and Ivar, were in action. And they have taken on the New Day, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, and also Grayson Waller. The Intercontinental Championship was on the line, where Dominik Mysterio defended the title against AJ Styles, with Balor and McDonough barred from ringside. And the main event, you had Division, Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed versus Jey Uso and LA Knight. I'm like, really? Another week that we have Division closing out the show. And we had Division open the show in the opening segment with Jey Uso and LA Knight. It's the same fucking shit every single week. Division opens the show, and then they close the show. Can we get something else to close the show, please? It's like every single week. We got to end the show with Division. We got to end it with Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed out there. I'm like, come on. Move on from this. But overall, Monday Night Raw was a good show tonight. And the crowd was just electric throughout the show. But I know I didn't do any videos last week. Just been busy for me. Had a very busy week. But I'm back on it. Back on to doing the reviews. But anyway, let's jump right into the review. Monday Night Raw opened up with CM Punk. And we saw CM Punk. He was waiting in the parking garage of the arena. He was waiting for Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. Because apparently at Clash in Paris, in the main event, we saw a hooded person dressed all in black and low-blowed CM Punk. And that was revealed to be Becky Lynch. So now, you know, this whole thing with Seth Rollins and CM Punk, you know, it's taking a turn. Now you have Becky Lynch being involved. And this is leading to speculations here that maybe this might signal a possible return for AJ Lee, since AJ Lee is married to CM Punk. I think this is going to lead to possibly AJ Lee coming back, and we're going to get a tag team match with CM Punk, AJ Lee versus Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch, possibly at WrestlePalooza, which is the next PLE, which is taking place on the 20th. And it's going to be the first PLE on ESPN, on that ESPN app. So that's where I see this going. Maybe we might possibly get that tag team match at WrestlePalooza. But Adam Pearce came up to Punk, and Pearce ended up telling Punk that he knows what he's doing and that he wants Punk to come inside. To which Punk ended up telling Pearce that there's only one way in and out of the arena, and he wants to be here when Seth Rollins ends up showing up. So Pearce ended up walking off, and Punk was just still standing in the parking garage waiting for Rollins to show up. So that was basically that. And then we went to the first segment of the night. Jey Uso, Mr. Yeet. So he made his way through the crowd, and the crowd was all yeeting for Jey Uso. So, of course, he made his way down. Jey got into the ring. He got on the mic. He ended up saying that he's not going to run it back tonight, and that he should be standing in front of the fans with the World Heavyweight Championship across his waist. He ended up saying he got some tape around his waist instead. Jey ended up going on to say that he has been running things back, such as how he'd be okay if he hadn't gotten involved in Roman Reigns' match. Jey was like, oh, well, maybe I should have listened to Roman's advice. So Jey was like, he doesn't play with his family. And he ended up saying, don't ever put your hands on his family. He ended up saying that Roman is laid up in the hospital. Jey ended up saying that he can hear him saying to smash them all. So then Jey called out the Vision because it's go time. So Jey didn't get the Vision. He didn't get Bronson Reed or Braun Breaker. He got LA Knight. And I'm like, oh, I know where this is leading up to. LA Knight comes out. Then you have Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed come out here. It's going to be the old same rinse and repeat. So LA Knight headed to the ring. Big ovation from the Paris, France crowd. Jey didn't look too happy with LA Knight coming out. So Knight got on the mic. And he did his whole shtick where he's like, let me talk to you. He ended up saying whether anyone else did, Knight ended up saying that he believed in himself. And that he believed he'd be the World Heavyweight Championship. He ended up saying instead, he's standing here as a loser. He ended up saying that Seth Rollins is still the World Heavyweight Champion. Knight then pointed at Jey. He ended up saying people have been saying he's lived in his cousin's shadow. He ended up saying that he can damn sure say that Rollins lives in his wife's shadow. So Knight ended up telling Jey that they had a chance to put Rollins through a table, and Jey spoiled it. So Knight was like, oh, I could have hit Rollins with the BFT in the middle of the ring, but Jey spoiled it. Elbow through the table to take Rollins out. Who spoiled it? You did, Jey. So Knight ended up saying that this could have been prevented. He ended up saying that he is tired of being left lying and not being the World Heavyweight Champion. Knight went on to say that if Jey is having a tough time understanding, he can get him up to speed real quick. So then Jey ended up telling Knight to get him up to speed. What's up? So this led to Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker coming out. So Nia was like to Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker, oh, you don't have your babysitter with them. Which he was referring to Paul Heyman. And he ended up saying that these two guys love the 8 Greats so much that they repeated it 3 times. Now he ended up saying that if they don't have enough brain cells to rub together to form a coherent sentence, they should walk their asses to the back. So Bron Breakker got on the mic. He ended up saying that he has enough brain cells to beat Knight because he beat Knight twice. So Breakker ended up saying that the only thing everyone should be concerned with is Paul Heyman's health. He ended up saying that Paul Heyman is currently in the hospital because Roman Reigns put him there. And why Paul Heyman is out is he suffered a larynx contusion thanks to Roman Reigns. And Roman Reigns is going to be out. He's injured because he injured ribs. He has multiple fractured ribs, that he suffered during his match last night. So both Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman are out. So we had Breakker end up saying that Knight and Jay should be concerned that Paul Heyman is not here and that no one is here to hold him back. So the crowd started cheering for Roman Reigns, to which Bron Breakker did not like that. He ended up saying, attention, Paris. Roman Reigns is in the hospital because we put him there. Breakker ended up saying that there are a couple of dogs off the leash because Paul Heyman isn't there to hold them back or tell them when to stop or what to do. So Breakker ended up saying that they'll put Jay and Knight in the hospital next to Roman Reigns. So then Bronson Reed got on the mic. He ended up saying that before he gets to the 2 goons in the ring, he wants Paris to acknowledge their tribal thief. So that led the crowd to chant, fuck you, Bronson. So Reed ended up saying that they put Reigns in the hospital and they beat him down as no one ever has. He ended up saying that Seth Rollins has a vision and it did not include Reigns. So they took Reigns out. He ended up saying that vision doesn't include both Jay and LA Knight, and that they are next. So Breakker ended up saying that Jay and Knight are a couple of smart guys, and they're at 100% tonight, and that they should have a match here in Paris. So Bronson Reed ended up saying, unless they're too banged up, not man enough, or maybe they don't have the balls. So Bronson Reed was like, maybe it's all yeet and no skeet. So Knight ended up saying that he is a little beat up, as is Jay, and that they could settle their difference another time. He ended up saying that if this greasy warthog and cross-eyed halfwit want to get their asses whipped, they can. And Jay ended up saying that he's right with Knight. He ended up saying 4 letters, 1 word, yeet. And pretty much that was how the segment ended. But your typical rinse and repeat. Jey Uso comes out, LA Knight's there, and you know that Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker were going to come out there. It's the same shit. Nothing new. Oh, we're going to have another match. The main event being Jay and LA Knight taking on Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed. Great. Great. Monday Night Raw opens the same, and it ends the same. Like I said, it's like Groundhog Day every Monday with this show. With the Vision open up the show and closing the show. What the fuck? Let's move on from that. Then we had the Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi Sane. We had a lot of Kabuki Warriors segments, backstage segments on this show. So Asuka and Kairi Sane were walking backstage. Io Sky walked up to the both of them. Io ended up apologizing for last week. Asuka ended up laughing. She ended up saying, "It's okay, because we're family." And she was like, "We'll take care of Judgment Day for you." So Io ended up asking the Kabuki Warriors if they need any help, to which Asuka did not want any help. Io ended up saying that she is done with Rhea Ripley. Asuka ended up saying that no one is ready for the Kabuki Warriors, and she walked off. So Kairi ended up telling Io that everything will be okay. She then ended up running after Asuka because Asuka was like, "Hey!" That's what we got for these backstage segments with the Kabuki Warriors. Asuka walks off, and Io is just with, or Kairi is with Io, trying to talk to Io, and then you just hear Asuka go, "Kairi!" Now it's basically that. Now we have the first match of the night. The Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi Sane, versus the Judgment Day, Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez. This was an okay match here. The crowd was making some noise through this match. They were pretty much, electric throughout the night on this show. So the Paris, France crowd were chanting for Asuka. Match got underway. We had Asuka starting off the match against Roxanne Perez. Both women locked up. Perez ended up pulling Asuka's hair and pressed Asuka against the ropes. Asuka then hooked a side headlock on Perez, but Perez ended up twisting out, and she applied a side headlock to Asuka. Asuka then whipped Perez off, and she absorbed the shoulder tackle. This led to Perez slapping Asuka in the face, and she ended up getting out of the ring to avoid strikes that were going to be delivered by Asuka. So Raquel Rodriguez tagged in. Asuka ended up going for a kick to Raquel, which Raquel avoided that kick. Raquel then ended up taking Asuka down. She then powered Asuka up for a suplex attempt, but Asuka ended up getting out, and she applied a octopus stretch on Raquel. Raquel then ended up powering out. Asuka then tagged Kairi in. So we had a double team where Asuka and Kairi were kicking away at Raquel Rodriguez. Raquel ended up sending Kairi into the corner, but Kairi ended up attacking Raquel, and she had grapevine Raquel's head over the ropes. Kairi then knocked Raquel to the corner. Roxanne Perez tagged in. Kairi ended up taking Perez down. Kairi then ended up blocking a slap from Perez. She then ended up blocking a kick from Perez. Kairi then delivered a dragon screw to Perez. She ended up going for the cover, to which Perez kicked out. So Kairi ended up hitting a Hess's takeover to Perez. Raquel then ended up tagging back in. Kairi then ducked the clothesline from Raquel, and she ended up delivering a forearm to Raquel. Kairi then blocked a big boot from Raquel, and she ended up hitting a wheelbarrow stunner. Perez then blind tagged in. Kairi came off the second rope with a crossbody block attempt on Raquel, but Raquel caught Kairi. Raquel then ended up slinging Kairi aside. Perez then grabbed Kairi by her hair, which allowed Raquel to avalanche Kairi. Perez then ended up sending Kairi into the barricade, and so Monday Night Raw went to commercial. Then when Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Roxanne Perez was in control, got the upper hand of the match. She ended up sending Kairi into the corner. She delivered a running uppercut. This led to Raquel ended up tagging in, and she ended up avalanching Kairi. Perez then tagged back in. She ended up going for a head scissor, but she ended up slipping off. Perez ended up getting up, and Raquel ended up big booting Kairi down. She ended up going for the cover, to which Kairi ended up kicking out. Perez then ended up sending Kairi to the corner and tagged Raquel in. Kairi then ended up booting Perez and sidestepped an avalanche from Raquel. That led Kairi to tag in Asuka. So Asuka ended up knocking Perez back. She ended up hitting Raquel with a missile drop kick. Asuka then ended up kneeing Perez in the face, and she connected with a strike combo on Perez. So Asuka then delivered a running back elbow on Perez. She then ended up kicking Raquel down. You had Raquel end up pinning a Falcon Arrow to Asuka, and that allowed Perez to hit a double jump springboard moonsault onto Asuka. So we had Perez end up going for the cover, and Kairi broke up the pin. At the end of the match, Asuka ended up applying the Asuka lock on Roxanne Perez. So there you go. The Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi Sane, ended up winning the match. Overall, this was an okay women's tag team match here. And then we got an announcement from Adam Pearce addressing the Women's World Championship, which is vacant because Naomi had to relinquish it because she's pregnant. So Adam Pearce ended up saying that there are going to be two contenders to face off for the vacant Women's World Championship. The first contender is Stephanie Becker because she won the Battle Royal at Evolution, and Io Sky. If you remember, Io was scheduled to face Naomi for the title, and she never got the match because Naomi came out and announced that she was pregnant. So we never got that match. So now, in 3 weeks at WrestlePalooza, it's going to be Stephanie Becker versus Io Sky for the vacant Women's World Championship. So that was Adam Pearce's announcement. I am looking forward to seeing Stephanie Becker versus Io Sky for the vacant Women's World Championship. And Stephanie needs to win the match. I'm going with Stephanie to win it because I think she is championship material. I think she really needs it. Io was the champion. So Stephanie Becker needs to win it. And as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, we saw CM Punk. He was still waiting in the parking garage for Seth Rollins. So we saw that. Then we went to Finn Balor versus Dragon Lee, which this was a good match here. Of course, Finn Balor was accompanied by Jada McDonough. Match got underway. Both guys locked up. Balor wrenched Dragon Lee's arm, but Dragon Lee ended up twisting out of it. Balor pulled Dragon Lee down by his mask, and he continued to twist Dragon Lee's arm. Dragon Lee ended up fighting up. He twisted out, and he wrenched Balor's arm. Balor ended up taking Dragon Lee down, but Dragon Lee ended up grapevining Balor's head. Balor kicked up, and he delivered a back elbow to Dragon Lee. Balor then put Dragon Lee in the corner, and he started punching Dragon Lee in his midsection. Balor then sent him into the ropes. Dragon Lee fought back. He scaled the ropes, and he delivered an arm drag to Balor. Dragon Lee then ended up hitting a running kick, and he followed that running kick up with a slingshot basement drop kick to Balor. So he ended up going for the cover, and Balor kicked out. Balor quickly got up, and he delivered a backbreaker to Dragon Lee. He then started taunting the crowd, to which the crowd was just erupting. So Balor ended up putting Dragon Lee in the corner and started punching him in his midsection. Balor then chopped Dragon Lee's chest. He sent him into the opposite corner. Dragon Lee avoided an avalanche from Balor, and he hit a running hurricanrana. Dragon Lee followed up that running hurricanrana with a drop kick, which knocked Balor out of the ring. Dragon Lee then ended up hitting a somersault senton to Balor, which looked awesome. So Dragon Lee stood on the top of the barricade, and he posed as Monday Night Raw with the commercial. Then as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Dragon Lee had the upper hand in the match where he ended up fighting up from a chin lock that was locked in by Balor. And so Dragon Lee chopped Balor's chest. So Dragon Lee shushed the crowd and he went for a chop. But Balor ended up kicking Dragon Lee. It almost reminded me when, Paul White, the Big Show, whenever he do the chop to his opponents, he would go, shh, so everybody could hear the loud chop echo through the arena. That's what this kind of reminded me of with Dragon Lee here. So Dragon Lee fought back with a snap German suplex. He then ended up hitting a big boot to Balor. Dragon Lee was sent up for the Poison Rana, but Balor ended up getting out of that. So later on, you had Jada McDonough. He got on the apron. Dragon Lee ended up jumping over the top rope, and he hit McDonough with the Hurricanrana to the floor. So Dragon Lee ended up going to the top rope. Balor ended up sitting up, and he pulled Dragon Lee down by his mask. This led to Balor going up to the top rope, and he hit the coup de grace on Dragon Lee. He went for the cover. There you go. Finn Balor ended up winning the match. Overall, good match this was between Balor and Dragon Lee here. And another match that the crowd was into. Then we saw Io Sky. Io Sky was walking backstage, and Nikki Bella walked up to Io. Nikki ended up wishing Io luck in her Women's World Championship match at WrestlePalooza against Stephanie Becker. So the Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi Sane, walked up. Asuka pushed Nikki Bella away. So Nikki Bella wasn't happy about that. She ended up walking off. Asuka ended up saying to Io that Nikki is not a friend. And Asuka ended up saying that her and Kairi can help Io at WrestlePalooza. So Io ended up saying to Asuka that she wants to do it alone. But Asuka ended up saying that Io couldn't win at SummerSlam alone. Asuka ended up saying that they'll be there. So Kairi Sane then tried to talk to Io, but Asuka was like, of course, Kairi! And then Kairi ended up leaving to go with Asuka. This is leading to Asuka and Kairi Sane turn heel on Io. I think that's how it's going to go. I think that Asuka and Kairi Sane are going to cost Io the match, the championship win, and that will lead to Stephanie winning the match at WrestlePalooza and being the new Women's World Champion. That's what this is set up for. And as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, we saw Dominik. He was talking with both Balor and McDonough. Adam Pearce walked up. And he ended up saying that he is banning Balor and McDonough from ringside, as Dominik has his match against AJ Styles for the Intercontinental Championship. So Dominik was not happy about that. To which Balor looked a little happy, about Pearce's decision. So that was that. Then we got the New Day. Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods and Grayson Waller. They ended up taking on Penta and the War Raiders, Eric and Ivar. Decent six-man tag this was. So Penta and Xavier Woods started off the match. Penta ended up punching Woods. Woods ended up reversing the whip. Penta then ducked the clothesline from Woods, and he delivered a run Hurricanrana. Grayson Waller ended up coming in. Penta ended up sending Grayson Waller to the apron. Eric then punched Waller to the floor. Penta then put Kofi on the apron, and Ivar ended up knocking Kofi to the floor. Penta set up for the Mexican Destroyer on Woods, but Woods got out of that. Woods saved himself from taking that Mexican Destroyer. Eric then crushed Kofi with a diving forearm off the apron. Ivar then ended up hitting Woods and Waller with a cannonball off the apron. Penta then ended up going to the top rope, and ended up hitting the New Day and Grayson Waller with a cross-body block to the floor, which was great. So this led to Penta and the War Raiders. They got into the ring, and they were just strutting as the crowd was erupting, loving what they were seeing. So then as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Woods ended up coming off the top rope with a double stomp to Eric's neck, as Eric ended up hanging over the second rope. So Woods then ended up taunting Ivar and Penta. He then ended up attacking Eric. We had Woods end up going for the cover, and we had Eric end up kicking out. Woods then ended up punching Penta off the apron. Eric then ended up lining Woods up with a knee to his face. This led to Grayson Waller and Ivar both getting tagged in, so Waller and Ivar end up going at it. Ivar ended up knocking Waller back, and he had pinned a back body drop to Waller. Ivar then knocked Kofi off the apron, and he hit Waller with a sidewalk slam. Ivar then ended up hitting Waller with a basement diving crossbody. Kofi then ran in. Ivar ended up hitting a seated senton to Kofi. And Waller then avoided the Bronco Buster. So at the end of the match, we had Penta tagging in, and he ended up hitting Woods with a Mexican Destroyer. So he got that Mexican Destroyer on Xavier Woods. So Penta ended up going for the cover. And there you go. Penta and the War Raiders ended up winning the match. Overall, decent six-man tag this was. And then we had Kathy Kelly. Kathy Kelly was backstage with Rhea Ripley. And the crowd there erupted. They gave Rhea Ripley such a great ovation. Everybody loves mommy. So Kathy Kelly ended up asking Rhea about Stephanie Vaquera versus Io Sky for the Women's World Championship. She ended up telling Rhea that Rhea's been getting closer to Io in recent months. So Kathy Kelly was like to Rhea, "How does that impact you?" Rhea ended up telling Kathy Kelly that she respects both women, but she always has her eye on the prize, and she'll get a shot at the Women's World Championship. So the Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi Sane, they end up interrupting. Asuka ended up saying that she can't believe Rhea wants a title match even before Io wins it. So Rhea ended up saying that she doesn't know why Asuka has a problem with her, and that she wants the title like everyone else. Asuka ended up saying that Rhea is not friends with Io. So Asuka ended up warning Rhea to stay away. So Rhea ended up telling Asuka not to push her because Asuka did a little push to Rhea. So Asuka ended up telling Rhea that she'll push anyone she wants. To which Rhea ended up saying, "Try me." So Asuka was like, "No one is ready for Asuka, even you." So Asuka walked off. Kairi Sane, still there. Asuka then ended up yelling, "Kairi!" And then Kairi followed her like a sheep. So pretty much that was basically that. And then we had Adam Pearce. Adam Pearce was in his office, and Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez came in. Perez was furious that Io has a Women's World Championship match when she's the last person to beat her. So this led to Lyra Valkyria walking in. Perez ended up telling Lyra to find her buddy, Bayley. So Pearce then ended up kicking Perez and Raquel Rodriguez out because they were all arguing. So Pearce ended up telling Lyra that he talked to Bayley, and that Bayley was saying some weird things, but she'll be back soon. As we all know that WWE is doing this thing with Bayley where they're making Bayley have, multiple personalities, where, she's a face and then she's hearing things in her head, callbacks to, her being a heel. So they're doing this multiple personalities with Bayley. So Lyra ended up telling Adam Pearce that she wants to get back in the ring, and she wants to battle either Roxanne Perez or Raquel Rodriguez next week. And Lyra ended up telling Adam Pearce that it's his decision that he has to make. It's up to Adam Pearce whether he wants to choose Roxanne Perez or Raquel Rodriguez for Lyra next week. So pretty much that was basically that. Then we had AJ Styles versus Dominik Mysterio. This is for the Intercontinental Championship, and before the match even got underway, the crowd was singing for AJ Styles. Such a phenomenal reaction and a great moment where AJ was just taking in the ovation that he was getting from the crowd there in Paris. Such a good ovation. So Dominik Mysterio ended up attacking Styles from behind as Styles was still taking in the great ovation from the crowd. So the ref ended up backing Dominik up. The ref ended up ringing the bell, so the match got underway. Dominik then ended up attacking Styles. Styles ended up reversing the whip. He then lowered his head and he ate a kick from Dominik. Dominik then hit the ropes. Styles caught Dominik with a drop kick. Dominik then rolled out of the ring to recover. And Styles ended up hitting a forearm plancha to Dominik. So then Monday Night Raw went to commercial. Then when Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Dominik got the upper hand in the match where he ended up grabbing Styles' arm. He jumped on the ropes and he delivered a hurricanrana to Styles. Dominik then ended up charging at Styles, but Styles put Dominik on the apron. Dominik quickly clotheslined Styles down, and he had pinned a slingshot senton bomb. He ended up going for the cover, to which Styles ended up kicking out. Dominik then booted Styles in the head. He then ended up pushing Styles down and booted him. Styles then blocked the boot from Dominik and ended up delivering a strike combo to Dominik. He then ended up hitting a sliding forearm. Styles then ended up hitting an avalanche clothesline in the corner to Dominik. And Styles followed up that clothesline with a Ushigoroshi to Dominik. He ended up going for the cover, and Dominik ended up kicking out. So Styles then ended up grabbing Dominik, but Dominik drove Styles into the corner. Styles booted Dominik back, and he ended up going to the apron. Dominik quickly ended up kicking Styles before Styles can hit a springboard into the ring. Dominik then ended up hitting a head scissors takeover off the apron to the floor to Styles, to which Styles screamed in pain as he landed hard on the floor. So Dominik got into the ring. The ref was counting, and Styles ended up trying to get into the ring as the ref counted to 7. This led to Dominik end up hitting a baseball slide to Styles. Dominik ended up going to the apron, and he ended up going for a diving hurricanrana. He got caught by Styles. Styles caught Dominik, and he powerbombed Dominik onto the French commentary table. So this led to Monday Night Raw going to commercial. Then when Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Dominik ended up hitting Styles with a tornado DDT. Both guys were going back and forth, exchanging strikes from their knees. So Styles ended up hitting a pump handle gutbuster to Dominik. He ended up going for the cover, and Dominik ended up kicking out. So at the end of the match, we had Styles end up going for the phenomenal forearm, and out of nowhere, El Grande Americano pulled Styles down. So Dominik was distracting the ref Americano ended up blowing his mask with that steel plate, and he headbutted Styles in his ribs. This led to Dominik stumbling to the apron. He went up to the top rope. Dominik then went for the frog splash to Styles. Dominik ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Dominik Mysterio ended up winning the match, retaining the Intercontinental Championship. Overall, good match this was. A lot of back and forth action between Dominik and Styles. I think Dominik and Styles work really well together in the ring. But good match it was. So then, Michael Cole, Wade Barrett gave us updates on Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns, where they end up saying that Paul Heyman has a bruised larynx and Roman Reigns has multiple broken ribs. So they have to, make that clear. And then we had Jackie Redmond. She was backstage with LA Knight. Jackie Redmond ended up asking Knight, is him and Jay capable of setting their differences aside to take on Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed? Knight ended up saying to Jackie Redmond that he doesn't know if it's the best decision, but he doesn't know how to quit or stop. He ended up saying that him and Jay can survive together or die apart. So Jay then walked up to Knight. Jay ended up saying that he comes from the dirt and that they got his cousin, so he has to get them. He ended up saying that if Knight stays out of his way, they won't have a problem. So Jay ended up going to say yeet, but Knight ended up cutting Jay off. And he ended up saying, yeah. And pretty much that was basically that. Then we saw CM Punk and Rhea Ripley. CM Punk was still in the parking garage. Both him and Rhea Ripley were talking about their run of bad luck. So Adam Pearce walked up. Pearce ended up saying that he doesn't know how it happened, but Seth Rollins is already in the building. So Punk was like to Pearce, I'm going to find him and take care of this. So that was that. And as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, we had a video promo from Rusev. Rusev ended up saying that at Clash in Paris, 2 former friends walked in, but only one walked out. He ended up saying that Sheamus called him a bully, but Rusev called his bluff. Rusev ended up saying that he is an example for all the kids that it's impossible to be good when you're destined to be great. He ended up saying that everyone should be like him. He ended up saying that as for Sheamus, he bought his Irish party, but his French spirit also showed up. Rusev ended up saying that he wants him and Sheamus to be friends again, now that Sheamus knows his place is beneath his feet. And why Rusev cut this promo is because he ended up defeating Sheamus at Clash in Paris in a good old-fashioned Donnybrook match. But that's why Rusev cut this promo. And then we had CM Punk. CM Punk ended up making his way to the ring. Big ovation from the crowd there for him in Paris. Punk got into the ring. He got on the mic. He ended up saying that he's waited for Seth Rollins long enough. He ended up saying that the show doesn't run on Rollins' time. Punk ended up saying that he is hijacking the show and will sing songs with his French friends until Rollins comes down to face him like a man. So then we hear, burn it down. So, did Punk get Seth Rollins? No. He got his wife, Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch came out, dressed like Rollins. So, Becky got into the ring. She got on the mic. And she had telling Punk, oh, was that the man that you were looking for? So Punk ended up saying to Becky that this has nothing to do with you, unless she's got her phone on her. and can call Rollins to get his rotten ass out here now. So Becky ended up telling Punk that this has everything to do with her. And does he think he only impacted one person in her family? Punk was like, I don't want any part of this. So Punk was about to leave. And Becky ended up saying that he'll stay and listen to what she has to say. So Becky ended up saying to Punk that she had to listen to him tell lies about her husband, berating the father of her child, the greatest man she knows. To which Punk ended up saying to Becky, your husband's a coward. So Becky ended up saying that Rollins has sacrificed more for this business than Punk will ever know. She ended up saying that Rollins is everything Punk will never be. She ended up saying that her husband is hot, jacked, and talented. Punk ended up saying that you're delusional. He ended up saying to Becky, you're delusional. So Becky ended up saying that Rollins doesn't interrupt her. So Punk ended up saying that he wishes Rollins would, so he could come out here and get his teeth punched down his throat. Becky ended up saying that when he walked out, the people chanted Punk's name to let her know they didn't care about her and the hard work she was putting in. Becky ended up saying that he's not the voice of the voiceless. He's the poster child for empathy. Becky ended up saying that she never forgot that. It didn't get her to the main event of WrestleMania. Becky ended up saying that she did it on her own. She ended up saying that she and her husband got the business to where it is now. To which the crowd were chanting, shut the fuck up, to Becky. So Becky ended up telling the crowd, you'll listen to everything I have to say. She ended up saying that her and Rollins started a revolution, and they're at the top of both of their divisions. Becky ended up saying that her husband is a visionary, and he's a revolutionary. He is Seth frickin' Rollins. To which the crowd ended up finishing that for Becky. So Becky ended up saying that she's the greatest female talent according to Sports Illustrated, and that Punk needs to get out of their way. She ended up saying that Punk is not what the business needs. So the crowd started chanting for AJ Lee, to which Becky was telling the crowd, she doesn't work here. And she ended up saying that Punk doesn't fit the vision. So Punk was like, oh, well, that sounded good, but the vision is blurry. Punk ended up saying that he understands the magnitude of himself. He's the best in the world, and it's not just him. He ended up saying that it's a bunch of maniacs in Paris saying it. So Punk ended up saying that they chant his name, whether he works here or not. He ended up saying that the fans will chant his name whether he's champion or not. And all the towns he was just in also chant his name. He ended up saying that Becky and Rollins weren't on those shows with their plastic belts. Punk ended up saying that the only thing Rollins runs from is adversity when it's coming for him. He ended up saying that Rollins hides behind his World Heavyweight Championship. He hides behind Paul Heyman, Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, and now his wife. Punk ended up saying that she's much more than somebody's wife. Punk ended up saying that she's a supremely talented person, and she just has bad taste and married a bum. Of course, Punk was saying all this to Becky. So Punk ended up saying that he wants Becky to know that Rollins is a paper champion, and that this will never be over between them. So this led to Rollins waltzing out onto the stage. Rollins got on the mic. He ended up saying that he's been looking for Punk all night. He ended up saying that if Punk has something to say to his World Heavyweight Champion, he can come up here and say it to his face. Punk then tried to sidestep Becky Lynch, but Becky stood in Punk's way. Punk got around Becky, and this led to Rollins walking off. Punk then turned, and Becky slapped Punk in the face. And Becky was just swatting away at Punk, and she pushed him. So Becky ended up saying, "You're pathetic," to Punk. So Punk ended up saying that he'll make Seth Rollins regret ever cashing in on him. And Punk ended up saying to Becky, "You will also regret putting your hands on me." So Becky ended up saying that she already does. She ended up saying that she has Punk's stinky sweat all over her. So Becky ended up saying that Punk's pathetic and will never be a champion. And so pretty much that was basically that. I thought this was a good segment here with Punk. And, he didn't get Seth Rollins coming out first. He got his wife, Becky. So it's going to be leading up to a possible return of AJ Lee coming in. Probably for just maybe one match with this. So if that's the case, it's going to be Punk and his wife, AJ Lee, versus Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. Which that's going to be taking place probably at WrestlePalooza. So we'll see what happens. And then, as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, we saw CM Punk. Punk was furious as he was walking backstage. Adam Pearce walked up to Punk. Pearce ended up saying to Punk that Rollins got in a car and left. So Pearce ended up saying that Punk knows where he works. Punk ended up asking Pearce, "Where is SmackDown on Friday?" Pearce ended up telling Punk that SmackDown will be in Chicago. Of course, it's going to be in Punk's hometown. So Punk then smiled. He ended up saying, "Tremendous." So pretty much that was basically that. And they announced that John Cena's final appearance in Chicago is scheduled for SmackDown on Friday. So we're going to be seeing John Cena as well in Chicago for SmackDown on Friday. Main event, Jey Uso and LA Knight versus Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed. Did not even care for this. It's the same old shit. Division end up winning. Bron Breakker end up hitting Jey with a spear. Post-match, Breakker and Reed double teamed up on Jey. LA Knight end up running to help. Breakker end up quickly hitting Knight with a spear. Bronson Reed then sent Knight over the commentary table. Breakker then end up standing over Jey, pulled his straps down. Breakker then end up hitting the ropes, and he had pinned a spear to Jey. Bronson Reed then end up delivering the tsunami to Jey. This led to Jimmy Uso running down with a steel chair. And Jimmy Uso ended up chasing Breakker and Reed out of the ring. Jimmy then checked on Jey. And that was how Monday Night Raw went off the air. Same old shit. Like I said, with Division and Jey Uso and LA Knight. Nothing new here. Rinse and repeat. As always. Can we get some change for the beginning of Monday Night Raw and the end of the show? Can we move on from opening the show and closing the show with Division? Please? Bring us something new and fresh. But overall, Monday Night Raw, good show it was tonight. And the crowd there in Paris, France was amazing. They were electric. But anyway, that's it for my review of tonight's Monday Night Raw. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned tomorrow on my buddy Luke Ponto's channel as we bring you another episode of The Movie Fanatics. So tune in at 8 p.m. Eastern on my buddy Luke Ponto's channel for the latest discussion of me and him discussing the movie news. So if you haven't subscribed to my buddy Luke Ponto, go to his channel and subscribe to him. And until then, I'll see you all later.